evening, everybody, and welcome to Let's Talk Assassin's Creed. You're on one podcast, 12 things Assassin's Creed.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 116 of Let's Talk Assassin's Creed. We often joke that we don't have a script, or we joke about returning to the script. We don't script the show. We do have talking points. We may have key things we want to say, or questions we want to ask each other or our guests, but we don't tend to script the show. But tonight, we really haven't scripted the show, have we, Declan?
Don't tell people that.
We've got plans we've got episodes planned out for, I suppose, for the next 3 months, and some just the two of us, some with guests, which is all great. But for this week, it just didn't happen, did it? Planning didn't quite come together. So we're just gonna have a chat and a catch up.
And here's me planning to weave out that this is the official episode of 2022 that we had pre-booked as a catch-up. I wasn't ready to let the people know that we forgot to plan for the second week of January.
As if.
We are so on the ball. We have episodes planned to March. And
we do.
I have a Harry Potter journal full of more ideas for the future. And yet, the second week of 2022, we have no official plan. So let's catch up.
Yep. Let's catch up.
We had a break from recording. Didn't look like it, but we did have a break at Christmas. We did a back-to-back recording, so this is the catch-up from our week off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Where should we start?
Break.
We did. It was nice, the Christmas break, but it's also nice to be back in the routine and the rhythm of doing this as well. So yeah, it's good to be back.
So who wants to go first?
You told me before you hit record, you said that there's been some Ubisoft news, which I think I might have missed.
Yes, big news for fans of Assassin's Creed on Xbox. Sorry. On. Ubisoft Plus, and I'm not usually into these streaming services and whatever, blah blah blah, is coming to Xbox. And now, I'm not a fanboy for any reason. I'm not going to say why it's better or not. But the reason why I wanted to highlight it on the show is currently Ubisoft Plus, which is a streaming service, has Assassin's Creed 1, 2, Brotherhood, Revelations, Black Flag, Freedom Cry, Unity, Rogue, Chronicles China, Syndicate Gold Edition, Chronicles India, Russia, Origins Gold, Discovery Tour Ancient Egypt, Odyssey Gold Edition, Assassin's Creed Remastered, and the Valhalla Ultimate Edition. And you play them games as long as you on the streaming platform.
Right. This is their subscription service, isn't it? You pay, I don't know what it is a month, but you pay a certain amount a month and you can play the games unlimited, I guess.
Yeah, until your subscription services, and it's like a library. You borrow them while substance. But to me, this is big news for Assassin's Creed fans, because this means if you can't go out and buy all these games and you want to play them, go play them, because Xbox, again, I'm not trying to be fanboy, so I apologise, but Xbox does have great backwards compatible to 360. It's how I'm playing AC1. So it means people can play a lot of the older Assassin's Creeds, if they've never have done before, on a simple plan through Xbox. And I think that's going to be a great year for people who want to finally experience them, but also maybe a hint at an Assassin's Creed 1 remake.
So what does that mean then? So are you saying that Ubisoft Plus or that library, or that catalogue of Assassin's Creed games, are they going to become available on Xbox as part of one of the Xbox subscriptions then? Is it, I don't know anything about Xbox, but is it called Xbox Live or something, or Game Pass? I'm not sure.
There's rumblings of it's going to merge with Game Pass, like EA Play has, which is EA's own streaming service. But it may become its own separate subscription you buy on it, so you buy it for $12.99. But we know by looking at EA Play that it has an extensive library on Xbox compared to PlayStation, just because of backwards compatibility.
Right.
So even if you're buying it outright and you don't have Xbox Game Pass, which is the big one, you will have, and you buy Xbox Connect, I'm pretty sure with backwards compatibility, for $12.99 a month, you're getting all Assassin's Creed games, and that's a huge bonus for console players that have yet to experience Assassin's Creed 1, 2, or maybe just
Mm.
don't want to shell out 20 quid for Syndicate but want to replay it again. So,
And the point you've made there that's interesting. That's I'm sort of learning more about the world of consoles. I've been a PC gamer all my life until very recently when I got a PlayStation 5 last summer. So I'm still new to the world of consoles. But I've learned from conversations with you and some of our guests that, like you said there, so Xbox players, if you've got an Xbox Series, you've got full, I think, backwards compatibility to games that were made for Xbox 360, like Assassin's Creed 1. But on the PlayStation side, it's nowhere near as good, or maybe there's no backwards compatibility. So my understanding is you cannot play Assassin's Creed 1 on PS4 and PS5, I think.
that's correct, you can't. It's the
Yeah,
only game you cannot play, which is
right.
a huge disappointment.
Okay, so can you get the Ezio trilogy is a remaster, isn't it, for PS4 and Xbox One, I guess. So okay,
Yeah,
so it's AC1 that you can't. There's no way of playing it. Understood. Understood. Yeah.
but I think, and I'm speculating here, so please tell me to slow down if I'm going too far speculating. But with having Ubisoft Connect launching sometime this year on Xbox, isn't it more than likely that we could see an Assassin's Creed 1 remake launch alongside it? And I know I'm getting too much in the gaming side, and I apologise, but they are releasing um, Rainbow Six Parasite, not Rainbow Six Parasite, the new Rainbow Six game onto Game Pass day one, so people can play day one if they've got Game Pass. I'm just thinking, if that goes well, why wouldn't they make an Assassin's Creed 1 remake for all platforms, PlayStation, Xbox, but then put it through Game Pass or the Ubisoft streaming service? And in that way, that would blow up the streaming service on consoles and get more people to buy it because they can play the Assassin's Creed 1 remake, if that makes sense.
Well, it does. I'll tell you what might connect that. So we got the announcement this week, or was it last week? I forget. That the Ezio trilogy is coming to Switch, which is pretty cool. Because we've had, do they call it the Rebel Collection? I think Black Flag and Rogue you can get on Switch. I'm not sure about AC3 and Liberation if they're available on Switch.
I think free is through the remaster edition, I
Is it
believe.
on Switch? Okay. So Ezio Trilogy is coming to Switch. If there was work, let's pretend for a minute we don't know this. Although we are hoping to do an episode very soon, to chatting about the specific topic of what would you want or what would we like to see from a remake or a remaster of AC1, and also what would we not like to see? What don't we want them to touch? But let's pretend for a minute that Ubisoft is putting development resources into an update, remake, remaster of AC1. It would kind of make sense, do you think, to make it also available on Switch, like the other games that they've been gradually porting over to Switch as well? And then, as you say, make it available through Xbox and through PlayStation. On all, it'll probably be available on all platforms apart from PC, like they seem to have done with the other remasters they've done of the Ezio trilogy and so on. But it could be, it may point towards the original game being updated for all consoles and all platforms.
I can agree there because I've just booted up Google quickly. Nintendo doesn't have the originals Assassin's Creed games on there, but they do now have free remastered, which will have Liberation, the
Oh,
Rebel
that's awesome.
Collection, which
Wow,
is Black
right.
Flag and Rogue, like you said, and now the Ezio Collection. So essentially, they've got two Brotherhood Revelations, free Black Flag, Rogue. They just need AC1 to complete the collection. I
Yeah,
doubt
yeah.
um, the Switch will be powerful enough for the games prior, because I know Odyssey can only be played in Japan through a streaming service.
That's right, yeah.
But if Ubisoft Connect goes big, I don't know if you can stream through it or it's downloaded, but if they do add a streaming option, you could see them putting that on Nintendo Switch to stream Odyssey, Origins, and Valhalla on Switch, and Syndicate and Unity, and that means for the first time Switch would handle all the games.
I mean, that would be pretty cool. I wonder what the audience would be for Unity, Syndicate, and then the Layla Hassan trilogy on Switch. But yeah, that would be fascinating if they could do that. Do you really think they would go back and touch Unity? I'm not sure if they would, to be honest.
To be honest, if they allow a streaming option through Wi-Fi on Nintendo, they won't really have to touch much with Unity, Syndicate, or anything.
Yeah, that's true, because the processing's being done elsewhere in a data center. So yeah, you wouldn't have to adapt the code to run on the Switch's hardware. Yeah, it's a fair point.
But the audience, like you said, will blow up massively because you're not... The difference between is you release Assassin's Creed 1 Remake right now on Nintendo Switch, they've got a bigger advantage than any other console because they can take that to the bathroom, they can take it on the bus, they can take it to work, and then put it on the TV. So
I'm just wondering how many Switches have been sold. We've got one in our house, and it's used for my children use it for Animal Crossing, for Just Dance. By the way, I know Ubisoft. We're here to talk about Assassin's Creed, but elsewhere at Ubisoft, I have to say, Just Dance is a lot of fun. Anyway, I just thought I'd have a quick look at the sales figures. So Nintendo Switch, 92 million units sold. PS4, 116 million. Xbox One, 51 million. So the Switch is the best selling of all the currently available consoles. Far and away more Switch users out there than PS5, Xbox Series. Only the PS4 has more, and of course the PS4 has been on sale for many more years. So do you know, it's interesting, isn't it, that the Switch market, obviously not all of those 92 million Switch users are going to be interested in an action stealth game, but that's a huge market that I guess from a business point of view, it would make sense for Ubisoft to try and offer their products on, like you said, whether they run it natively or they run it through a streaming service like they've done with Odyssey for the Japanese market. So yeah, fascinating.
I think it would literally be the best thing on sliced bread for Assassin's Creed. I know if I had a Switch, I would buy them on there because I would go to bed and at night and I have insomnia, so I don't sleep at nights. And if I can't be bothered to leave my warm, cozy bed, put my Switch on. I'm in bed.
Go for a bit of stabby time.
Exactly. 2 a.m, I'm not getting out of my warm bed to go sit on the sofa and play on the Xbox. I just sit in bed with it.
Do you have a Switch in your household?
No, we have got 2 laptops and a shiny Series X, and that's enough.
Oh yeah.
I barely have time to play all my Xbox games, let alone get a Switch for Pokemon.
You had Xbox. You had Xbox Game Pass for a while last year, I think.
I did, and it literally, again, sorry, I'm not trying to play fanboy, but we
talk
amazing.
About our systems. It's fine, but yeah, it's, we're not getting any money from Microsoft for this show. No, that's the key point to make.
Game Pass. I'm somebody who can't afford games brand new. That's the thing. Like, I save, but Game Pass was quite decent. Could play some good games like Outriders, stuff like that.
That was my next question. Talk us through some of the games you went. Did you play some new games, or did you just have fun sort of replaying your old favourites?
I play my old favourites. I kid you not, I went through everything. I even downloaded one of the greatest Visceral, which is the developer's games of all time, Dante's Inferno. It's just a cheesy Devil May Cry meets 1800 literature. Well, 1400 literature, and it was just fun because it's a 360 game. You can't play it anywhere else unless it's Xbox. So it was just nice to replay one of my favourite 360 games of all times. But there's no Assassin's Creed games on there. That was a blow. That's
the key point, isn't it? I suppose that's the significance of the announcement, isn't it? That we might be getting or will be getting. Well, actually, I suppose we're not clear on that. But yeah, if if the games on Ubisoft Plus are coming to Game Pass, then yeah, you've got a huge catalogue of Assassin's Creed games coming. So yeah, very good.
I would
How
play
many
it.
how many of the games do you now own on your new Xbox then? Of the Assassin's Creed series? What have you got playable at the moment?
I've got Assassin's Creed 1,
Yeah.
the Ezio Collection,
Yeah.
Black Flag,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and Valhalla
Okay.
and Unity. That's all I can afford at the moment.
Oh, how'd you get Unity?
I got Unity off CD Keys.
Ah, nice, nice.
Night.
What made, out of interest, and hey, I've managed to ramrod another Unity reference in. What made you pick Unity of because I know you've been playing these games since right at the start, and I wondered if maybe your first purchase would have been AC1, but I guess it was Unity, was it?
For me, Xbox, yes. But the reason wasn't because I wanted to play it first. I actually wanted to play Assassin's Creed 1 first.
Mm,
The reason was money is tight,
mm.
and when I went on CD Keys and it was £25, and then next to there was a sale on, and you could get Unity for 99p.
Wow.
I was like, okay, can I get 99p, babe? I want Unity.
You bought Unity for 99p. That's
Oh
fantastic.
yeah,
But are you telling me the list price was £25 for a 7-year-old game, 8-year-old, nearly 7.5-year-old game? Really?
yeah. Ezio games are blooming £35 still on the
I don't know.
stores.
That seems. I mean, I guess if they can charge that price because people are willing to pay it, but that seems excessive to me.
It's why I never bought it on when I had the PlayStation 4 because it was always
Yeah.
£35, and £35
Wow.
isn't something I can just go out and spend. I'm a dad of two. I can't. I've got kids. And I'm not
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
rude if anyone's listening as a parent.
Yeah.
Kids eat a lot. I kid you not.
They
I
do,
thought
and
I
they
ate
need
a lot.
clothes. They need to have the heating on. You got to keep them warm and clean and fed.
I was just thinking food. My kids are like piranhas at
Yeah.
times. I
Yeah.
thought I was
Oh
a big
man.
eater until I met my 3-year-old child, and he's like, "I'm hungry for grapes." Okay, have a grape. Next, not all
Oh
grapes are
dear.
gone.
That's hilarious.
Thanks,
Oh god.
child.
My kids were crazy for grapes when they were young. Not so much now, but geez, we used to go through so many. Um, I was going to, damn it, what question was I going to ask you? Oh, no, actually, I was going to tell you. So it's funny you bought Unity for 99p. I didn't get quite such a good deal, but when my PS5 arrived, and I bought it, last summer, and I don't know what supply is like now, but supply was very restricted, and I was watching various kind of news sites and blogs to see when stock was coming in to the UK. There was some stock made available through Game, which is it's a high street chain of shops, but it's also available online. So I bought mine through Game, but they were a little bit cheeky. You couldn't just buy the console; you had to get a bundle with 2 games and a controller. So mine came with Ratchet and Clank and Spider-Man Miles Morales, neither of which I've played, and I probably should. Do you know what the first thing I did once I got it set up? I went onto the PlayStation Store, had a look at Assassin's Creed games, and Unity was on sale. I think it was £5, so I bought it, even though I already had it on PC. And I dip into it every few days. I'll just roam around Paris, do a main mission, do some side stuff, and I just love it. I have to say. But yeah, I thought I got a good deal at £5, but at 99p, that is a steal.
CD Keys is such a steal. Like, my partner is one who showed me because I don't trust these sort of sites. Literally, I'm like, no, but partner uses it for Sims. She trusted it, and I've loaded it now because I'm about to blow your mind. Are you ready for this?
Go on.
Assassin's Creed Unity. Its current sale right now from $39.99 to $5.99.
Wow, they would really try and charge £40.
But this is where I'm going to really blow your mind. Assassin's Creed Odyssey Ultimate Edition from £91 down for the next 2 days to £25.
Jeez.
So
And that will include, that's that's the kind of bundle to go when in the future, when you want to, add to your Assassin's Creed library on your Xbox. That'll be the bundle or the gold edition, because you'll get AC3 and AC Liberation remastered as part of the bundle. So, Yeah, that'll be one of the additions to go for, because you're getting 3 games for price of 1. So that's interesting.
To be honest, my next purchase wants to be Syndicate because I really like Jacob Fry. And the Syndicate
I'd
Gold
like to talk
Edition.
about Syndicate in a minute. This is a
Yes,
good segue.
because I miss playing Syndicate. I've never actually completed Syndicate. That's my confession. I've seen the ending from
You've
YouTube,
never completed it.
but I've never had, because I was going to complete it on my PlayStation, but I sold it, so I never did.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
I have seen the ending on YouTube. I know everything, and currently the gold edition on CD keys from £44 is like £13.
So
Out of
what would that
stock at the
include? Does
moment.
that presumably that includes the DLC?
Every downloadable content.
All right.
It's
Last
everything.
Maharaja,
Yeah,
Dreadful Crimes. Yeah, okay.
everything.
Nice.
It's literally
Nice.
game, season pass, Street of London pack, Steampunk pack, Victorian
Nice.
Luncheons pack, A
Nice.
Long Night, Jack the Ripper, Helix credits pack, Last Mirage pack, Huntsman pack.
Yeah.
From £44
God, they
to
do love their
13.
packs, don't they? Oh,
I know.
it's actually kind of annoying how difficult it is to work out if you've got the content or not. And I'll talk more about that in a second. But yeah, so are you tempted to make a purchase then, or are you waiting for the price to come down a bit more?
Waiting for the price to come down more and for it to
Fair
be in
enough.
stock. But Syndicate
Yeah.
is the next one, because the confession I make is, even though I have played it halfway through and I got to the last memory,
Mm.
and I've seen all the YouTube games cutscenes for it and the Jack the Ripper cutscenes, I've never played it, completed it. So I have played it, so I can say I've played all AC games. I've played it,
Yeah.
just never got a chance
Yeah.
to finish it, and it is up there with one of my favourite combats of the games.
I've heard generally negative comments about the melee combat in Syndicate, but I have a totally opposite opinion. I think it's really fun. Should we talk about Syndicate?
Why not? We're
Why
catching up.
not? Why not? Well, so I'll tell you my catch up. So actually, let me tell a bit of a story. So going back, nearly what we're January 2022. So going back 2 years nearly is when the coronavirus pandemic kind of spread to Europe and countries started locking down. I think in the UK it was March, wasn't it? And I was just finishing up my first playthrough of Origins. So I played Odyssey and thought, well, I'll play the next one kind of chronologically. I didn't understand about the modern day at that point, and that there was the right or the wrong order to play these games. Although, to be fair, the modern day between Origins and Odyssey, it doesn't really matter if you play them in the wrong order. It's so short. You do need to play Valhalla in the right order after Odyssey, but between the two, it doesn't really matter. So I'd finished Origins, and I thought, I'm really enjoying these Assassin's Creed games. I've had a great time in Odyssey. I do have thoughts about Origins that we should probably come to in the future. But anyway, so I thought, I've really enjoyed these 2 games. I want to play more Assassin's Creed. What shall I do next? What shall I play next? And of course, there's 12 games at that time. Valhalla, I think, is the 13th, isn't it? 12 games to choose from. I've played 2. What do I do next? Now, again, like I say, no idea about the history or the modern day story. And I just looked at the sort of the pictures and the descriptions and thought, yeah, Victorian London, let's do it. That looks interesting. So Syndicate was my first, quote unquote, proper Assassin's Creed game. So for that reason alone, it will always have a special place in my heart. But I played the main story through sort of those first few months of lockdown. I did 100% the main story. I didn't get that. My word, there is a lot of side content in Syndicate. I don't know if you can remember this from the last time you played it and whatever, but there's a lot of associate activities. There are a lot of chests. Oh my word. I 100%ed Unity. When did I finish that? October, a few months ago. And I've kind of got it in my head. It'd be quite nice to 100% Syndicate as well. So I can say that I've 100%ed both of those Initiate duology games. But my word, there's a lot of helix glitches and there are a lot of chests. I'm not sure if I have the patience, but anyway. But when I played Syndicate the first time, I did the main story, did some of the associate stuff and some of the world stuff, but I never did the World War One Rift, and I never did the Jack the Ripper DLC. And when I kind of finished Unity, which would be, I don't know, October, November last year, it must be November last year, I thought, all right, I'm going to go back to Syndicate. I'll play it again. So I started a new game, deleted my save game, and no, I lost my save game. That's right. So somehow I'd lost my save game, which was quite frustrating because I'd lost all my progress, but started a new game. So I finished the main story a couple of weeks ago. I've done the World War One Rift. I've done the Jack the Ripper DLC, 100%ed that. And yeah, I think Syndicate's interesting because I find it really, really fun. There's an awful lot to do, and I don't just mean like filler work. I find all the individual kind of Templar hunts and gang strongholds and everything, they're good fun. The heists, or what are they called? Cargo hijacks, carriage driving through London and shooting your gun from the roof. It's a really fun game. The Jack the Ripper DLC, we're going to do a special on that DLC, aren't we, in a few weeks' time? That's the plan anyway. And we're going to do a special episode on Lydia Fry, who we play as in the World War One Rift. So those are coming up. Well, dates to be confirmed, but probably February, maybe March for those two. So I won't go into too much detail today, but that content is excellent. I remember the first time I played it, I did do the Dreadful Crimes, that full. I think there's about 8 or 10 crimes that you investigate, and then there's like a final big crime. And I really enjoyed that detective. I enjoyed the murder mysteries in Unity as well. I really enjoyed that sort of walking around, gathering the clues, reading the case notes, working out who the guilty party is, and it's continued in Syndicate. So I really enjoyed doing that last time, and I should do it again. So I've got it in my mind that I'll probably go for 100%, but I might get defeated by the number of chests and helix rifts. But to come to your specific point about melee combat, I always found it really fun, and especially when you do the fight clubs, because of course that's endless cycles of melee combat. Because although it's not complex in terms of mechanics, it's the rhythm that you get into, and it's that sort of I guess it's like feedback loop. So you see that you need to dodge, you tap dodge, you get a very satisfying animation, then you get a strike in, then you break, and it builds up a rhythm of punch punch dodge, punch punch dodge, or dodge break punch, and I find that rhythm really enjoyable, and of course they tie it with very satisfying animations, especially when you chain together those sort of multi kills. I mean, I'm not very good at it, but I think you can chain together. Is it up to 4? And I don't think I've ever got 4 guys in like the stunned state where you can actually punch them all, but I've definitely done 3, and those animations are very enjoyable to watch. So yeah, it's funny because maybe I'm in the minority. Maybe you and I are in the minority, but I always enjoyed the melee combat in Syndicate. What did you think, Declan?
Sorry, my mic was like, I don't want to work anymore. I love my mic. For me, the combat only stood out my most favourite because it was a breath of fresh. I can't talk. A breath of fresh air. Because problem with Assassin's Creed, and it's the most nitpicky thing ever because it's normal, it's history, blah blah
We're
blah blah
nitpicking.
blah.
Let's do it.
It's like a nitpick against our own history, like not the game, our own history. It's just everything sword and board, like sword and shield. It's all everything is in like all combat is just either gun warfare or swords. And just to have one game where you beat the crap out of people with your gun or a cane was just so satisfying for once. I didn't have to have a sword or a dagger. I could just punch the crap out of people. And the combat reminded me of like a really simple version of the Batman Arkham combat. And I love that, but I don't know, I felt more of a deadly assassin in Syndicate than I did most other games, because I felt in other games your skills made you one of the badass assassins, but you weren't killing them with skills, you were killing them with a sword. Whereas in this game, you're basically punching the crap out of some like 6 foot tall, burly looking people. Like, I'm not being rude, you're probably stronger than Ezio, and he was probably quite a strong character. But that's just my kind of opinion with the combat.
It's, I mean, coming back to it the second time and having played all the other games in between, I don't know how I finished the game the first time. I didn't understand how to use a smoke bomb or why you would ever want to use a voltaic bomb. I think the first time I played, I think I melee combated my way through most of the story. This time I am being a lot more stealthy and I'm using the voltaic bombs, which are hilarious. I am smoke bombing heavily, and throwing knives are just so satisfying. It's a satisfying game. The story is, I don't know. I'm not sure if the story quite works. I think it's good, and it shows the Templars' control over London. They've got quite a lot to do because they've got to fit in, the twins arguing with each other, which I do quite enjoy their snipping and snarky comments to each other, plus taking down the Templars. But it works. It works. I do wonder if Syndicate's a little bit of the forgotten child, so to speak, of the franchise. But I think it's a very enjoyable Assassin's Creed game. I've enjoyed going back to it, certainly.
I love Syndicate, and the point I want to make about the story, and I kind of think there's a hidden message under the story that people don't really talk about, but that could be my interpretation. And that kind of is a Desmond Miles story. Well, a reverse one. And what I mean by that is they're not meant to be in London. They're not meant to be there. The assassins have, when they're talking on the train, they don't have like a mission to go there, but they mention a lot about their dad and the dad's work.
Yeah, they decide to go there just on their own, don't they? We're just going to go to London and do it on our own. Yeah, yeah.
I love that attitude. But it reminds me of imagine Desmond Miles leaving the farm and then going back into the vault to please his dad, make his dad's memory proud. And that's the kind of story I got underneath all that filler of take down the Templars, blah, blah. It's two people want to prove themselves to the Brotherhood who want to prove, and I can't remember if the dad's alive or not, but want to prove themselves to the dad. No. So I think it's trying to get the dad's honour and memory, and I kind of feel like they're just trying to please themselves, and that's why you get the mirror of Jacob is the assassin who's brash, will do anything to fit in, where Evie is the cold, calculated, studying assassin.
Absolutely. She's the more... Yeah, I got the impression actually on I tell you what, again, this is what you just don't know if you don't know the backstory, because it's not explained in Syndicate. Syndicate assumes you know all of this stuff, which, depending on your point of view, actually is a good thing. Just put me in the action and get on with it. But maybe it's a bad thing if you're new to the franchise. So I didn't know what the council was, because there's this comment from George, is it Westhouse, the older assassin that gives them the instructions right at the start, and he says, we need to talk to the council, they will guide us. And then of course they go off to London. But I got the impression that Jacob was just bored and he wanted a bit of fun. But you're absolutely right. And of course the skill tree is built around it. His weapon is kind of the kukri, whereas Evie's is the cane sword, which the cane sword's just a cool weapon. He's the kind of the brawler. She's the very precise, very stealthy. Something I remember, and I don't know where I heard it. If Louise is listening, she's our Syndicate consultant. She'll probably know for certain, but I'm sure that it was Evie's performance and voice actor, Victoria Atkin, when she was kind of studying the character and getting to understand the character, she suggested to the sort of character designers that Evie should always have a pocket watch, because she would be very precise with her timing and always want that reference. So if you look at Evie's outfits, she's always got a pocket watch hanging from them, which I think is a really nice little detail. I just hit my microphone, which is very unprofessional. I'm so sorry.
See, that detail's new to me.
Oh, is it?
Wow! But
I got one more for you in a sec as well.
Oh, well, I think the one I want to think about quickly before I hear this new detail. Imagine Evie and Fry's personalities in one assassin, and you've got pretty much all protagonists of the franchise.
That is true, actually. You've got the brash protagonist. I'm immediately thinking of at least young Altair, young Ezio, Edward. And then you've got the very precise. Do you know the first person I thought of when I was thinking of like precise assassins was Aveline? Not, I mean, old Ezio, of course, once he's matured. But my first thought was Aveline, because she doesn't mess around. She is focused. Who are the other protagonists that are really focused and really precise, would you say?
Old Altair, the way he designs the
Of
codex, it
course.
becomes philosophical. Um, Aya. I could see Aya being very cold, precise, and clever.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Aya. I'm gonna say. Oh, this is kind of back. Elise. I know she's not an assassin, and people are gonna be like, but she's not an assassin.
Ooh.
But she is a protagonist for Unity, and she is from the Unity novel. She is very precise. She's very clever. She is like Evie. So I could say, Jacob would be Arno, Evie would be um, Elise. I'm gonna get shot for that.
Do you know, I was as soon as we started down this train of thought, I was thinking, all right, where would I put my boy Arno? Because Unity as a game is the whole gameplay is structured around being stealthy. I was watching a Twitch stream a couple of days ago with Memento Gallery, chatting about Unity and watching some Unity footage, and there was a few people in the chat, and we were having a sort of conversation about Unity's melee combat and Unity's kind of overall design. And there are lots of people out there that don't like Unity's melee combat. They hate the gunners. But for me, those two elements, I mean, okay, melee combat, I enjoy the melee combat in Unity. I think you just have to get used to the timing, but that's no different to any game. You get used to the timing, you don't put yourself into too much trouble. But for me, the whole game is structured around being stealthy. If you're being gunned down in the middle of Paris, it's because you've messed up your stealth. Unity is built for stealth. The tools they give you, all the hiding spots, parkouring over roofs. So, and I'm trying to think. Arno has a number of set piece melee fights, like with Belek. But it's up to player interpretation, of course. I would say he's precise, but that's just my opinion. It depends how you play him. If you mess up, yes, you're going to be in a big melee, aren't you? Surrounded by red guards.
I think Arno's a tricky one because he is, and I'm gonna be honest, he is not a complete assassin. His story is still unfinished. After Dead
True,
Kings and he walks
true.
away, there is still a lot more to fill in. So at the moment, Arno is, to me, is unfinished. There's more to Arno than we're gonna get.
Well, we can fill in some gaps. So Dead Kings takes place in August 1794, just over the course of a few days. So it's crazy when you look at the timeline. He travels to Franciard. I mean, it's obvious because it's shown in the cutscenes how sad he is, but it's just a few days after Elise has died. But it all takes place very, very quickly in that period, July to August 1794. But what we know from Unity's kind of content and missions is he becomes a master assassin because you're given the master assassin's robes. But exactly when he becomes a master assassin isn't clear. We know that he's still doing missions for the Brotherhood because a number of the co-op missions take place long after 1794, like Infernal Machine. I think that's 1800. And I don't know what the source is for this, but I think it's in the wiki that, I don't know if you can you remember the cutscene right at the end of the main story when Arno and Napoleon re-enter the vault underneath the temple and they find the skeleton of Germain? I think that takes place in the mid 1805, 1808, but it's a number of years later. So from 1794 to, let's say, 1805, just to sort of split the difference there, we don't know what happens in his life, but we know he was doing stuff for the Brotherhood and he became a master assassin, but we don't know why. Now, I suppose the true explanation is maybe the writers didn't think it through properly. But there are certainly gaps with his story, that's for sure.
We need more Arno. Just admit it. We just need more Arno. That's all we need.
You know, can I be honest? Right, I'm in two minds here. Oh, we should just also say that Arno is shown on screen for like 1 second in the film, in the Assassin's Creed film, as one of I was going to say Aguilar, but it's not. What's the guy? Callum Lynch, the character played by Michael Fassbender. One of his ancestors is shown as Arno, which is great to see Arno just on screen for half a second in a kind of memory. But anyway, so I don't know. I'm in two minds about, do I want a new Arno game? I tell you why I don't. Because I kind of like the fantasy that Elise didn't die and they lived happily ever after together. And of course, if they make a new game where he's moved on with his life, then that fantasy is no longer no longer sustainable, because there'll be a new kind of canon ongoing story for him. But that's just me being kind of all mushy about it.
I think maybe the ambiguity of how his ending's probably best for him then. I don't mind, but
yeah.
I
have to say, I mean, aside from Elise dying, which is really, really sad, still not over it, I really liked Unity's cold ending. We may have spoken, we did a Unity sort of trilogy, didn't we, back in October? We may have already spoken about this, so I might be repeating myself, but I really liked the way the game just said, boom, the end, cutscene, roll credits, because it really left me wanting more. Whether we get it or not, I don't know, but I'd always thought before then that I was someone that wanted all my endings neatly sewn up and like a nice little bow on a present. But that ending was like, boom, end. And it left me like, wow, this is quite stunning. I want to know more about him. And maybe we'll never know. But I don't know. I kind of respect a story that's got the confidence just to do that and say, that's the end. We leave you as the fans to imagine the future and where he might go next and what he might do.
To be honest, that is the skills of any storyteller. You know, I'm a guy who reads 100 books. You know, in the past year, I've probably been about 13, 14 books in a year. Yeah. And you get books that end now neatly with a bow. They're good. But you get some that just leave you wanting more. But you don't want more because you're just so satisfied as well. You're just like, I want more, but let's not get more because it's epic as it is. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Let me give you the opposite example then of like a bad ending that was later corrected. So Odyssey. Now we had the Odyssey crossover released. Well, it's a month ago, isn't it? 14th of December, I think. We had the trailer published and then it was added to the game the next day. So the original Odyssey game, when I get why these open world games have to finish how they do, because they need to leave it open for you to carry on exploring. But I always felt the original ending of Odyssey was rather unsatisfying, especially after you've sort of potentially invested 50, 100, 150 hours in exploring Greece and completing the main story and all the side stories. And the ending is like, it's Cassandra, Barnabas and Herodotus on a beach. And they sort of talk for a minute or two about how this Odyssey's over, and then that's it. And it was always a little bit unsatisfying. Whereas the ending that we got in the crossover felt like a proper ending to Odyssey, and it definitely, there was something, maybe because the original ending didn't feel very satisfying. Coming back to that game and getting new content that really finished it nicely was really satisfying to have. So I suppose, I know I'm probably contradicting myself to what I said about Unity a moment ago, but I found Unity's ending not satisfying, but kind of powerful. And I found Odyssey's new ending through the crossover very satisfying, just because I suppose the time and energy put into it.
I don't know. I think I'm just weird. Endings don't
really... Tell us more.
It's weird. I think endings don't usually bother me unless like they're just terrible. And Odyssey's ending, I think I was just still reeling from how epic that whole triangle reveal was. That the ending didn't fuss me. I was like, cool.
What do you
But
mean
what about
by
that pyramid?
triangle reveal? Sorry.
The big,
Oh,
the big
in
pyramid.
yep,
Yeah,
yep, yep.
my mum was still focused on that. I didn't care about the ending. I was like, pyramid.
Understood. Yeah.
She sees the future. I was like, look, pyramid. There's Jacob. Pyramid.
Well, this is the thing, right? So again, as a new player who started with Odyssey, when you get that kind of Cassandra sees the future, and what I now know, of course, is those are cutscenes from all the future games, but I didn't know. who's that dude walking through the mountains? Well, it turns out it's Ezio walking to Masyaf. But anyway, yeah, I didn't know stuff like that at the time. I know now, of course.
It was just me there foaming at the mouth, like, oh my god, this is so cool. Oh my god. Don't
Absolutely.
end.
Absolutely.
Although I did expect to see like a cutscene of her walking through time, meeting all of them. And I don't know why I just had this like whole dramatic thing of the whole world fading to dust as she just keeps walking on. But I may be feeling a bit too dark about Cassandra's future.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm trying to remember now? Because you have the modern day ending where Cassandra meets Layla and she hands over the stuff, but I can't remember. Does that happen before or after the conversation on the beach? It must happen before. Maybe this is an example. I don't know. Maybe the writers kind of wrote themselves into a bit of a corner and it wasn't easy to find a neat way out. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't criticize too hard. I'm not a writer. But anyway, they finished it nicely with the crossover, that's for sure.
So, another neat little segue I want to jump into about games. Assassin's Creed Ezio Collection.
Ezio? No, never heard of him, mate. Who's that?
I'm loving the Ezio Collection. I'm terrible at the Ezio Collection, but I'm loving the Ezio Collection. Hate effing chests. Ezio's made me hate chests in games. Point blank. Like, run it, I think.
Are you playing,
after,
presumably you're
playing
AC2 at the moment?
Yeah, AC2. And after the first mission, and you lose your family, and I'm running away, and I see that big, shiny chest somewhere, and I'm like, okay, RPG, OCD kicking in, gotta open the chest. Can't until you're anonymous. Screw you, game, because I don't know where the chest is when I come back. I can't find it. It's a good game. It's good to actually replay it.
When was the last time you played it?
When it first came out in 2010.
You haven't played it in 10 years?
Nope.
Or 11 years nearly. Wow. Oh man, right, okay.
And my muscle memory...
Because I remember you saying about AC1 that you played AC1 kind of obsessively for a year when that came out. So was it the same with AC2 when that came out originally?
Let's just say there is no AC game that I've not played obsessively when it comes out.
That's a good answer.
Literally, I'm like, an Assassin's Creed 2 game comes out, Assassin's Creed game comes out, I will happily lock myself in a corner and play it till I get bored. Although now I'm an adult, I go to adult, so I can't lock myself in a cupboard and do that. But
it is harder to do as an adult, isn't it? It's a shame.
Let's just openly admit that when I was doing my GCSEs, I was told to take off a week off to revise for my last history exam.
Yes.
I kind of had Assassin's Creed Black Flag. No, wait, I don't know if it was number 3 or Black Flag. I took my GCSEs in 2011. Which Assassin's Creed game came out in 2011?
I would say Revelations. Yes.
Revelations.
Because 3 came out the following year in 2012. Yeah, Revelations in 2011.
That's the one. Yeah, so when I was doing my GCSEs in year 11, in year 11, that's like 2011, yeah, my brain's fried. Anyways, I kind of spent the whole week not revising, but playing Assassin's Creed. Still passed my history exam, though. I will say I did get a good history grade.
Hey, long as you passed. I mean, if it was the history of, like, Byzantine Constantinople, then you were doing studying. But of course, if your history was, I don't know, the French Revolution or something, then yes, you were not studying.
the history exam was a written exam for the aftermath effects, in your opinion, of the Treaty of Versailles. Really nothing to do with Assassin's
Ooh,
Creed.
yeah, that's a tough subject.
I was trying to weave in that the Temple of Versailles was actually a deal between the Assassins and the Templars, but my teacher wasn't going for it. He never played the games.
Nice try, nice try.
I tried and failed, but I will admit, while we're on the topic of history, and you may laugh at this, I passed my Crusade exam in RE just because I started chatting about all the stuff I learned in Assassin's Creed 1.
Oh, that's awesome.
I owe
That
it
is
all to
fantastic.
Assassin's Creed.
Well, do you know, that's one of the topics we're going to come to at some point. So we need to talk to our possible guests and get a date. But we do want to talk about, because we've had Amit on as a guest a number of times about different historical topics. Amit is our resident archaeologist and Egyptologist and all-round origins obsessive, and Valhalla, to be fair. But we also had Mr. Donlan on, didn't we, in November to talk about Valhalla fact and fiction. He's a history teacher in the US. So we do want to sort of continue on that and do an episode about teaching through gaming, don't we? You know, what can you learn? Can you sort of inspire people through these historically set games? So that would be good to do. I mean, you can bring your Crusade experience as well.
I think it's really bad though that some of my Crusade knowledge comes from Monty Python. That's a kind of a terrible thing to admit, but I got into the Crusade because of Monty Python. And if anyone's seen The Holy Grail, please watch it. It's the best film out there. That got me into the Crusade and then Assassin's Creed 1. So weird thing to admit on a podcast that Assassin's Creed was a combination of both Prince of Persia and a Monty Python film.
Oh, I mean, what can I tell you? My knowledge of Greek history comes from Odyssey, the film 300, and classical studies memes for Hellenistic teens. So I consider myself very well educated in Greek history. I'm being sarcastic. I'd just like to clarify in case anyone writes in and says, you know nothing. Yes, I know.
I actually remember, and I know I'm going off topic, but I watched 300 and the second one, and then when I played Odyssey 5 years after watching 300, I was like, why is this nothing like 300? And then I did my research and realized, no, 300 is just a glorified Hollywood version to mutilate history. But
yes,
I was disappointed at first that Cassandra, wasn't performing these executive like shield walls and being badass as the 300 warriors, but I still scream, "This is Sparta" when I use a Spartan kick off a cliff.
You have to do that. It's required. It's part of the terms and conditions.
I thought so. I thought when I first kicked off, and I was like, "This is Sparta, perfect, sold."
That ability is hilarious, though. I remember the first mercenary that you fight in Kefalonia, Talos the Stone Fist. He's got a big beard, a great big bushy beard, and I was such a noob. I didn't know anything about melee combat or anything. And I eventually defeated him by kicking him off a rock. Spartan kicking him off a rock. I mean, hey, the ability is hilarious. It's good for. I tell you, that's one of the most common complaints I've heard about Odyssey. Well, there are many, but there's no shield. She hasn't got a shield. So, I mean, to be honest, I'd rather not have a shield. I don't really like standing there with a shield up, being battered on the shield. I'd rather just dodge and get on with fighting. So I'm not convinced that having a shield makes for good combat, personally. I'll tell you, I've never really got on with the shield in Origins, because I find that, he can block arrows with it, but then he still seems to take damage. So I'm not really sure what the shield adds. But maybe that's just me being a noob with Origins melee combat.
From a point of view as a guy who plays tons of RPGs, and I mean this as a sarcastic thing, I don't mean this as an insult, just sarcasm. I think shields are a weak person's gear, because the way I see it, if you can run up to a dragon...
Whoa. Let me just say that again. Shields are a...
weak person's gear. I mean that as a joke, of course, but I just feel
of course,
if someone can run up to a dragon in Skyrim and punch them with 2 swords and no shield, you're awesome.
Mm,
If somebody can take on the Hounds of Hell, Cerberus, and can take on a whole army of Greek mercenaries with a broken spear and a sword, she is too badass for a shield. A shield will make her slow and weak. She wants to be punching them, not like, wait for me here. It's same with like Origins. I love Origins, but I'm like, Bayek, drop your shield, pick up a dagger. You'll be 10 times deadlier. Come on, mate. That's why assassins don't use shields. They're
Do you
deadly
know,
without them.
on the Origins topic, right? I need, I need to go and watch some YouTube guides or something, because I'm not sure if I suck at the combat in Origins or whether it's just very, very simple and there's nothing else to do. But I see with Odyssey, you've got this again, maybe because it's maybe the same people designed it. Now I think about it, maybe the same people designed Odyssey's combat as designed Syndicate's combat, but Odyssey's very much about parry, dodge, strike, and it's very responsive. I mean, again, if you're playing on controller, of course it's different, but on PC, it's space to dodge, it's Q to parry, I think, by default, although I map it to a thumb button on my mouse because I find that more kind of natural. But it's very responsive to dodge, and then when you parry, you've got a nice window to get an attack in. But there must be I must be doing something wrong, and I'm going to have to watch some tutorials, because I'm not sure I've ever parried successfully in Origins. And I've got the key mapped to my same thumb button. So I have Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla set up the same way. Although I suppose there's a slight difference because you need to have a button for the shield, but especially for parrying and dodging. But I'm not sure I've ever parried. Maybe there's just a really short timing window and I've never mastered it. But yeah, I don't find the melee combat in Origins enjoyable. Maybe that's deliberate to make you be more stealthy. I don't know. And I'm certainly happy to go and play stealthy, but sometimes you get into a melee. But I don't know. What do you think? Did you enjoy the melee combat in Origins?
I was drooling with the melee combat.
Ah, okay.
See, I think I know why the combat is like that. And it makes sense. The problem is, even you can still see it now in all games for Origins. The parry window is very long. It's why I hate it in all the old games, and it's the biggest hate I have for the franchise. The counter kill system, where you basically parry kill, parry kill, parry kill. Edward can do that to 100 guys on a beach, and without taking up a sweat. Literally, just whoop, done. So I'm thinking they must, when they've gone for a proper hitbox style RPG, which is like light and heavy attack, they must have reduced the parry time quite a lot to stop people just being able to stand still
Oh, I see.
and then
Okay, to
counter kill,
make it a
counter
little
kill.
more challenging. Yeah.
To me, in my opinion, no disrespect, but realistic. Not
Mm,
easy, but realistic. Like,
mm.
my defense as a guy who's been playing since 2007, I find it unrealistic that every assassin just stands in a circle waiting to counter kill.
And the
It's
enemies come
just,
at them one at a time. Right, you attack me first, then you, and I'll deal with you one at a time. Yeah.
I feel, even though it is very much RPG, very flashy, I get that, but the combat from Origins to Valhalla is realistic. Assassins wouldn't
Mm.
stand in a circle going, I'm just going to wait. The, even with Unity did it as well. They wouldn't just stand go, I'm going to stand here with 2 hidden blades and just
But
parry with my
I was
braces.
going to call out Unity there, because I think Unity, from what you're saying, you are right. The sort of the earlier games where you could you could either chain together kills or counter kill, counter kill. You can't do that in Unity. You can get swarmed and swamped by melee dudes quite easily. So that's probably more realistic. I'm trying to think if Syndicate. I have a feeling Syndicate probably makes it a bit easier. Generally, I found everything is a little bit easier in Syndicate. I'm trying to think. Yeah, you can get swarmed in Syndicate as well, but again, it's probably easier to make the timing work. Yeah, go on, mate. Sorry, I
I
interrupted you.
think it's fine now if you are right. Syndicate and Unity's combat is easy. That's the whole problem. All the combat until Origins is just easy. If you time how much you die in combat between all games, you will notice that in all games until Origins, you die for your own mistakes. Whereas Origins, it's usually on Onward, it's usually combat or bugs, which is realistic. No offense, but I want Ezio. Like I'm trying to play the Ezio collection now, and it's so cumbersome for Ezio to attack without doing the counter system. It's just slow, it's sluggish, and it doesn't feel like it has meat or weight behind it. It's just like it's hacking away at iron.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not a I'm not an expert in melee combat. Certainly not in the early games. I kind of eventually got the hang of the counter kills in AC1, but a lot of my AC2 and Brotherhood was just battering the bad guys repeatedly until I chipped away at their health. I know that if you equip the hidden blades, apparently you can do sort of a one shot counter kill, and you can kill anyone, can't you? I think. But the timing window must be very short, or I must be missing some visual cue from the animations to get it right, because I've never done it. Maybe it's just experience. Need to go and play them more.
I don't know. I think it could be I've got muscle memory because as soon as I picked up the controller for the Ezio collection, it was like I was back at 2010 replaying, except parkour. I still suck.
I don't really, and again, it's probably investing time. I'm terrible at the parkour in the early games, I have to say. I think Unity and Syndicate are the only two where I really use it regularly, because it kind of works. I don't find the early games parkour, it just doesn't work for me, but I'm sure it's just investing time.
Need time, patience, and Google.
I'm wondering
Time,
now,
patience,
does
Google.
Jace's have an ultimate movement guide for the early games? Because he does for Unity, and it's fantastic. It's essential viewing. But I wonder, there must be some good parkour guides out there for the early games to go and learn.
To be honest, and I'm really going to discuss this in the future, the more I play Assassin's Creed 2 and I'm ready to hang up my hat as an Assassin's Creed fan and leave the podcast for this comment, I don't think parkour is worth it in Assassin's Creed 2.
Okay.
Quick run hide. It's just,
Tell us more.
when you play the first mission and you fled your family and you go to I'm going to say brothel because I can't remember the person's name, and she teaches you about blending in, about
Yeah.
pickpocketing. You then see this is an assassin hiding in plain sight, one with the crowd. Why do I need to go on the rooftops? I can't steal on the rooftops. I can't blend in on the rooftops.
Yeah.
I can air assassinate, which is the most joyful experience ever. I can assassinate guards off a roof, which is enjoyable as hell. I can climb viewpoints, which I enjoy. But if I want to steal, blend in, and the one that I did that I don't know if it's a glitch or not, I hired some of those constant thingies, what they're called, and as I walked past a guard, I assassinated him and carried on walking. So as I was blended in, the guards never chased me.
Nice.
And it was just like, why
Nice.
did I need to run up a wall, do some fancy flourishes, when I could just go sit on a bench and they won't recognise me? But I think I'm nitpicky.
Oh no, not. I remember you made the same when we were discussing Unity with Wolfie some months ago. You made a similar comment that you don't really use the parkour, and that's fine. And I think that's, although I think parkour and sort of well animated, stylish, but what's the right word? Creative parkour should be part of these games. You don't have to use it, and that's what I think. I think that's the openness of these worlds, isn't it? If you want to be in the crowd at street level, whether it's in Florence or in Paris or London or wherever, or New Orleans or New York, that's fine. Use that approach. But if you want to run over rooftops and jump through trees, that's available for you as well. And it's just different styles, isn't it? I don't think there's a right or a wrong approach. Hey, if you kill the target, who cares? As Jacob says at the start of Syndicate, I killed my target, and that's all he's worried about. The fact that he derailed a train is irrelevant.
But I think that kind of proves the biggest point that I made when Odyssey came out. Choices.
Mm,
We have been playing since Assassin's Creed 1 choices. The dialogue may not be there, it may not be so in your face that you're making a dialogue choice, but you're making choices. Nobody in the entire playbase has ever played the canonical version of these characters' memories because we all play the games differently. And that's what makes the franchise so amazing, because I have learned some wicked tricks for assassination stuff in the older games just from watching people play it on Twitter and seeing the little game clips. I've seen some parkour runs that I've copied and chained into assassinations, and they just made me laugh.
nice, nice.
So the whole choices of how we play Assassin's Creed, how we enjoy the franchise, has created this moment where your individuality helps other people find enjoyment in the games, and it's just perfect, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the trick. The trick for me, at least, playing these games for the first time, and there's only a few of them in the series that I've played a second time so far. I'm definitely going to replay some of them again, but I'm always worried about spoilers. And I suppose maybe too worried, but it's how do you watch a playthrough or get tips on parkour or assassinations or using the right tools without spoilers? I mean, so I tended to play each of these games through at least the first time on my own, with no outside help. But I like to go back to Unity as an example. Once I'd finished the main story, no, that's not true actually. I think it was Six Keys recommended to me. Go and watch Jace's movement guide, and actually might have been Wolfie. And Leo K's got many sort of guides on how the different tools and everything work in Unity. No story spoilers, just talking about how to use the tools, and that taught me a lot. And I'm sure they exist for the earlier games, and I'd probably go back and watch them and learn better. But just on the parkour point, in, for example, AC2, and especially in AC1, I didn't use it that often because the guard, I think we've made this point before, the roofs are covered with archers. If you go on the roof, you just get shot down. So I tended to be like you in the streets. But again, that's probably my lack of experience and lack of exploration to find the routes and the hidden paths and everything.
Oh, I'm just an evil bugger. I kick them off the roof. It's like, my roof now, go away.
Talking of AC2 and kicking people off and leading on to generally doing silly things, do you subscribe on YouTube to a guy called JV? I'll
Sorry, my
take
mic's
your
like silly bugger tonight. Yes, I do subscribe. I just have not had 5 minutes to sit down and watch them yet.
Right. He uploaded a video this week then, which I won't spoil for you, but go and have a look at it. He's doing some silly things in AC2, and it's just hilarious. What he's doing with, let's just say, melee combat silliness. Some of the options you have in AC2 are brilliant. So go and watch that video. We'll talk about it again sometime soon. We'll catch up. But yeah, he's found. I mean, it's not a new thing or a new exploit, but there's some good stuff going on there.
I think I'm going to check this out, because if there's shenanigans to have, shenanigans is what I look for, which sounds very
Nice,
creepy.
nice.
But I think I've tried so many shenanigans in all games that it's just unreal. If I can try and find ways to cheat something for a laugh, I'm going to do it.
Do you know? You just reminded me of something. Talking of shenanigans and silly ideas, it's now a good time to talk about what we're planning for Sunday.
Depends. What are we planning? I know what we're planning. We're planning a lot of things.
Let me check the notes,
Yes.
because you typed the notes into Discord.
I'm always typing.
Here we go. So this is what Declan and I were having a call a few days ago just to plan ahead and talk about future ideas. And we are going to do what we're going to do every Sunday. Tell the listeners.
Drink cup of tea, eat biscuit, and watch Great British Bake Off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's it.
Perfect. Done. Sorry. Have a nice day, people. No, we are going to finally, because I've never known what to do, so we're going to do it. We're going to expand our YouTube channel by doing weekly live streams on Sundays.
Yep.
And since James has the Master Race in his hands, the PC, he will be playing the games, and I will be setting him challenges because I am going
My
to be
God.
evil.
Oh man, what are you gonna? I mean, we should say that you're not going to tell me in advance. So I've got, yeah, I think I own all the games in the franchise, right? Apart from the little mobile games. So all of the games you can play on PC, I own. So Declan, you can spin your wheel and say, I don't know, right, Assassin's Creed 3, go and do this, or I don't know, bludgeon somebody. I don't even know what challenges are possible, but you're going to set some silly stuff, and we'll go and have some fun in the different games in the franchise, won't we?
Oh, you'd be surprised what fun I can have. I once did a whole playthrough of Syndicate for fun. It lasted 10 minutes. Inverted controls and no HUD. Don't do it. It's
No
evil.
HUD I could probably do, but how the hell do you invert the control on the control? Oh, on the controller.
Yeah.
Oh my word! Do you know what? I would find it hard enough just using. I could plug in my Xbox controller actually into the PC. That might be funny actually to see how terrible I am using an old Xbox controller I've got here on the PC in Syndicate or in any of the other games. That could be good fun.
To be honest, you may find slowly that controller is a little bit easier than keyboard.
No, come on.
Oh yeah.
Nah, I don't believe it. Honestly,
Right.
I think people that can play competently on controllers, they operate on a higher level than us mere mortals.
I have played AC1 on keyboard,
Okay.
and I've played AC1 on laptop, and I had to go and plug my control back in. It was just too difficult.
It's so funny, isn't it? I've always so I've got the PS5 here, which I can use the controller. I'm not a complete idiot, but I'm definitely what I miss most. It's the right stick, the camera. I just miss the speed and the precision of a mouse, and I guess that's an obvious comment to make. Um, and I know you can adjust the sensitivity, but I've tried making it faster, and then it's too fast, and you've missed where you want to look at. So that's what I miss. I mean, the other controls, movement, combat, it's fine. But yeah, I guess that's just what I've always used. So I'm just used to WASD, left click to assassinate, right click to aim or whatever, or right click for high profile in the early games. Um, but that could be some good fun actually. I could plug if you want to set that kind of challenge. Maybe do like a gang hideout or something on controller. See how I get on.
The only game I would set that on is Odyssey. That I would love to
Okay,
see you try to do Odyssey with controller, because
let's do it. Let's try
you
it.
you are used to doing Odyssey through keyboard and mouse, but it's a bit trickier on um, keyboard a little.
Yeah, yeah.
But
You know what? I
I
never even
have some
thought we could
evil
give it a
ideas.
try. Yeah.
The biggest thing is though, you have to show me your photo mode. I need to know your photo mode on Unity.
Oh, I'd love to do that. We could do that on the stream, so I could have Unity running, show how the photo mode mods work and how to take pictures. So yeah, I tell you what, that's our first two things, and I promise, on the controller side, I am not going to practice in advance. Okay, but yeah, we could do that on Sunday. That'd be good fun. Sunday evening, we should say. We'll do a live stream on the YouTube channel.
I like this idea. I think we've
Awesome,
got
mate.
a
Awesome.
challenge on board.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds good. So
So
I think we're done.
yes, we've gone off on a massive tangent and we didn't catch up on anything.
We did.
Wahahaha.
We've had a good chat about the games you're playing, what I've been up to recently, what we're planning together. So it's been a good conversation, I think.
And I think the last thing I do want to mention as we wrap up, I'm excited to see where Ubisoft Plus goes on the Assassin's Creed fronts.
Mm,
If they can make it streaming through Wi-Fi instead of downloading, and then bringing it to consoles like PlayStation and Nintendo, it's gonna let more people play the old games, and I can't see that being a bad thing. So, as this is all we've got time for tonight, I am excited to what we're doing next week, but I will not tell you what we're doing next week. Mwahaha. But if you've enjoyed this episode, then please reach out to us on Twitter at forget my Twitter handle at AC Let's Talk, or email assassin. Right, I'm getting my tongue tied. It's been a long. I've been doing
It's
school
been a long
runs.
day, mate.
Been doing school runs. I feel like my brain's frying. You can find us on Twitter at AC Let's Talk and at James Tilliquid, or you can email us at Assassin's Creed Let's Talk at Gmail. I'd love to see what you guys have been up to lately and what games you've been playing, and also what are you looking forward to in 2022 for Assassin's Creed? Is it Ragnarok? Is it finally getting a chance to replay one of the older games? Or are you just going to have some silly fun with the older games like me and James? So, whatever it is, we can't wait to hear it, and we'll see you all next week.
See you all soon.